Welcome, everyone. We are very excited to be here with you today. I'm Audrey Barnett. I am the U.S. Academic Sales Manager at TestOut Corporation. We recognize that there's a lot of change that is happening right now, especially moving some classes to online. And so we have pulled together a couple of our instructors that have been working online, and they'll give you a little bit of their backgrounds. Either they've been doing it for a long time or just switching over, hoping to answer some common questions that we have been hearing here in the office to help you as you are making similar transformation as well. I'm going to go ahead and close the PowerPoint slide down so you can kind of see our faces a little bit more easily, and then you can be able to see what we are doing on our side as well. So we're excited that you're here and hope that you guys can learn something from each of us as well. I will point out really quickly, we do have a question box. So if you do have questions during the training, I do have Craig Russin on the back end answering questions. He will also shoot some of those questions to us if we can feel like these are broad questions. We're happy to answer those for you. If not, we'll go ahead and answer them one-on-one as well. So please ask those questions. At the end, we'll compile a lot of those questions and ask our panel of participants as well. So welcome. We're excited that you're here, and hopefully we can all learn together. So if I could ask, Mike, would you start and introduce yourself, what school you're with, how long you've been teaching classes, and which courses that you're currently teaching?
Okay. Hi, Ryan. My name is Mike Smith. I work at the Miami Yoder School. We are a rural community about 40 miles east of Colorado Springs. This is my first year teaching technology, and we have from K through 12 just under 300 students. So we're doing the best we can with what we got.
And how long have you been teaching these online classes now?
This is my first year teaching everything online.
Online. Okay, perfect. All right, Kara.
Okay, I'm Kara Brown. I've been teaching, I'm from Sinclair Community College in Dayton, Ohio. I've been teaching there at Sinclair for about 8 years. And before that, I was in the IT industry doing system engineering and all that fun stuff. Been teaching online for all 8 years that I've been doing this, and I'm currently the coordinator for the Secure System Admin Cyber Defense degree that we offer at the college. And we do lots of online classes, online classroom, all kinds of different stuff to offer our students lots of options. We've been using TestOut now for about 1.5 years. So maybe almost 2 years now.
Perfect. All right, Brad.
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Brad Chamberlain. I am the instructor here at Maricopa High School for the Maricopa High School IT Academy. Maricopa is about 20 miles south of Phoenix in Arizona. I've been teaching IT at Maricopa High School for 9 years now. I have 5 different classes, about 150 kids in the program overall. I use Cisco NetAcad for a lot of the things that I do for my PC Pro and A Plus for their side of it. But same thing as PC Pro. So we use NetAcad, and I also use NetAcad for my CCNA courses that I teach here. We've been using TestOut now for the past 3 years, and I use that as a supplemental program. Basically, all my students do it online, and I have several students, and then we work in actually all the different certifications that TestOut offers. So it's been great for the past 4 years using TestOut. Really awesome for us, especially as an online solution.
Okay. Thanks, Brad. All right, Ed.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ed Garcia. I've been teaching IT courses at Moorpark College, based out of Southern California, for 20 years. I've been teaching online for about 10 years, and I've been teaching using TestOut online for the past, I would say, 6 years. And with TestOut, I taught the Network Plus, Security Plus, the Windows administration, the Windows Server, and the Linux Plus, and the Cisco actually. So I have used a lot of the TestOut curriculum in an online format. Currently, I'm still teaching online, both online, hybrid, and the traditional classroom environment. So I am very familiar with all three modalities. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. We're excited that you're all here. So let's start out with a question. What do you guys believe are the key factors that make online delivery different than maybe an in-class or a hybrid class? Who wants to answer? Ed, would you mind taking that one initially?
Sure. I think for me, the biggest challenge that I have is the engagement component. So using TestOut, I am able to leverage the tracking of students in terms of where they're at in the course, and I'm able to have them do labs at home, labs at wherever they're at. So for me, using the TestOut product in order to develop their confidence and their competency and preparation for the exam are all components that I need to figure out how to integrate in an online curriculum. So using TestOut allows me to leverage that, to actually do all that, to do both the certification prep, the skills-based, the lab component, and as well as the theory understanding, and then be able to track students and identify those students that are at risk, that aren't really fully engaged, being able to track them and identify them, so I can reach out to them and say, hey, what's going on? What can I do on my part to get you more engaged in the course? So did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to get some other feedback though. Kara, what do you think are the key factors that make online different from maybe in class?
Well, engagement is more challenging, just like Ed said. It's easier for students to lose track of where they're at or kind of get lost. Sometimes they'll just disappear for a little while and they'll come back. That happens a lot in the college setting. So motivation and engagement is definitely an issue. I think it helps that TestOut has small little chunks that students can do. So even if they don't want to spend hours working on their work, they can get on and do something for 30 minutes. I find that a lot of students really appreciate that, and it helps a lot with the engagement. I was using another product prior to TestOut, and it was big chunks. You had to commit 2 to 3 hours to sit down and do what you were going to do, and if you didn't do that, you would lose all of your progress and have to start all over again. Yeah. So engagement is a big part of it. The other part of it is understanding, making sure the students are understanding what they're seeing. They don't get the one-on-one explanation that they do in the classroom. You can't sit down at the screen and show it to them and explain it to them. So that's a little more challenging. The videos are good, but there's definitely a one-on-one factor that you miss out a little bit on. Now with better technology, that's getting better.
Right. I read an article. Yeah. I read an article earlier actually this morning that said it was the run, walk, run concept, and it was work for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, work for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break. And that was something that they were like encouraging for online students to do, because if you sit down for 2 hours, you forget what you started learning in the beginning from the end, right? So do it in chunks and things. Perfect. So Mike or Brad, do you have anything that you'd like to add? The differences maybe between online delivery and in-class teaching?
Wanted to add on to what Ed said. The tracking piece in TestOut is great. You can not only track, how long they've been, but you can also track, what they're working on. Are they just watching videos all day? Are they doing the labs? Are they taking the tests and quizzes? That's really key, because I've had some kids trying to pull the wool over my eyes. I'm like, hey, have the video on for 3 hours, but you've been in the lab for 30 seconds. You know, at the college level, you're not going to see that problem as much, but high school kids will try to get away with that stuff. The other piece that I think is really challenging is our at-risk kids. You know, being here at school, being able to work with them hands-on, we really need, is crucial. And now I'm having to navigate that. In fact, I have one I'm working with right now who's, you know, having trouble just installing Packet Tracer at home. So I'm having to place it up there, put it for them instead of having them wade through the website and find it themselves. But we're all going to have to be creative as that goes forward. But back to the tracking piece. That's the piece about TestOut I really love. I can really see where my kids are and what they're doing.
Perfect, perfect. I am going to go ahead. We have a poll question, and I'm going to ask the audience here, if you wouldn't mind participating a little bit. What has been your experiences teaching online classes? Are we loving this? Are we hating this? Are we like, oh, it's okay? So Brooke, if you would mind putting up that poll question for us, go ahead and audience, go ahead and respond to that. Let's see kind of where we're at here, and let's kind of get an attitude as to how we're doing here. Give it just a second. How are you guys, while we're doing this, how are you guys feeling about online classes? Specifically, Mike, as this is your first year, maybe first couple of weeks doing this, how are you adapting and making this work?
Well, when I came into the taking over the technology area, we talked to my boss about having stuff be relevant for our kids, and we know that for Colorado, in the next few years, it's going to be mandatory for high school students to have at least one online class. And moving forward, that's what we're doing in class. So I have my online class in the classroom, and it's working quite well. Some of the high school students have never dealt with this before. Some of them are taking it and running with it. Others are kind of goofing off a little bit. Every Friday, I have 1 or 2 sections that are due, and I have a calendar for the entire semester. And I let the kids, if they want to go further, go ahead and do it. And I actually took Office Pro, and I spread it between 2 semesters. I had students in the first semester finish the whole thing, and now they're going on into.
Oh, we went quiet. Mike, you there? Oh.
Sorry. Hey, technology guy, still learning stuff. Anyway, so anyway, I've had folks that
right?
First semester finish the whole thing and then move on to do A+ and everything else, and moving on from there. I even have some that are wanting to take it during the summer. When we took the break and we were all had to go home, I had 6, 7 of my students contact me and start knocking out a month's worth of work in a week because they had nothing else to do. I like it very much. It is very well. I'm still trying to learn how to teach it in class for those who are IEP and 504 students and other students that are having a little bit of a problem. Overall, it is great, and this is going to be part of our curriculum from here on out.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, Brooke, she's in the background. Let's go ahead and show our poll results real quick, just so that we can kind of see. I think that a big consensus is people are loving online classes. There's a big chunk also that wants their in-class face-to-face classes back, which is kind of understandable because that's kind of our normal. So kind of an interesting results there. I was expecting it to be a little bit more flip-flop the other way. So that's interesting. So perfect. Thanks, Brooke. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's talk about what's been working with an online class that you have, you know, especially as we're trying to transition a little bit more classes right now. What are working? What benefits do you have in teaching the online classes, and what triumphs do you see with your students as well as, you know, the schools having these online type classes? Kara, let's go ahead and start with you on this one.
Okay. So my early wins were with the students similar to what Mike mentioned, the go-getters that'll do half a semester worth of work in a weekend. And I've had a few of those, and they're amazing. They're like more. I have one right now who did a certified ethical hacker, the TestOut course on that in 8 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and he loved it. So he's like, what more can I do? And I said, let me see what I can find you. So definitely there's a big win for that. For those students that want that faster pace, that want to learn, and get it knocked out, there's a big win there. For the students to set a slower pace, I think the things like the little chunks and stuff like that help motivate them. I'm trying to think. I had another idea in my head there. So the other big win I would say is it gives them the opportunity to do things at home that they weren't able to do before. So in the past, you just send them with a book, and that's all they have. Now they have everything at home. And we can allow students to take the classes that wouldn't have been able to take classes at all before. So we have a lot of students who tell us that if you didn't offer this online, I couldn't have taken classes. So yeah, so those are some of the big things I would say.
Perfect. Ed, what about you? What works with your online classes that may not be the same as an in-class atmosphere? You know.
Well, I have another course that I teach that's not a TestOut course.
Sure.
It's a traditional textbook course, and I'm using Canvas as the LMS system for online. So the challenge I have with that other course that's a non-TestOut course is now how do I integrate, where do I get the labs from? Where do I get the lab content? How do I develop the labs? And then in doing that, students have a lot of challenges at home because of different environments, and it consumes a lot of my time trying to figure out how do I develop the labs so that they're seamless, they're not as challenging, they're not as complicated, students aren't frustrated. That's one of the things that I learned when you have to develop the content on your own, and keep in mind that in the IT field, the content is constantly changing, so your lab has to be constantly updated. So in that other course, that's a non-TestOut course, it's a challenge. It's a major challenge. Using TestOut, the fact that it has the labs already developed for me, yes, some students have challenges, but then what I've done, I've actually documented some of the labs that are challenging, that helps the students that are completely new to IT, they're able to actually do labs. So the fact that they can complete the labs and they can repeat the labs and do them over and over, it's a huge benefit. And I think one of the first lessons I learned as a teacher when I started teaching, when I came from industry, is that I had to keep a healthy learning environment. And doing the labs in the classroom at many times became very frustrating for a lot of students. When you got one teacher and 25 students and the lab isn't working properly, all of a sudden you've gone from it just makes it very frustrating for students, and that's not a healthy environment for anybody. So TestOut has allowed me to avoid all that and really improve the whole lab experience for students, not only because I use TestOut in the classroom, in a traditional classroom, and it allows me to also use TestOut in a complete 100% online format. But the fact that I can do the lab, that's a huge advantage. The second huge advantage that I know of is they're asking me, the campus is asking me, hey, you got this great program, but how many of your students are actually getting certified? How many are passing the exam? So now I have to use a product that allows me to really prepare the students for the certification. So the fact that TestOut has that huge exam bank at the very end, including the certification prep exam, that's another huge plus that I benefit from in being able to leverage that and get my students ready for the job market. As we're building more partnerships with different organizations, they're asking for certified completers of the program. So students who have both finished the program and have a certification. So I'm able to do that now. So that's the other huge benefit that I get from TestOut.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. What are our struggles? Mike, we were talking about one before we started. Mike, would you bring up one of your struggles that you have been having, and let's kind of discuss that a little bit.
One of the struggles we have being in the rural environment is we have a lot of students now that don't have access to internet. So with this being an online-based thing, I'm having to try to convert everything over to try to get them their materials they need. So that's a major issue. I have through Facebook, which they can all seem to get a hold of, put out videos showing how to convert their phones to smartphones so they can hook their iPads and their computers up to it, but not too many have decided to do that. So one of the issues, it's an online class. How do you teach Excel if they can't get the program? So
what are some of the other ideas that we kind of came up with? Kara, you have a couple in your area there in Ohio.
Well, we had we're doing the cell phone thing a lot at the college because with college students, you can tell them they don't have a choice but to turn their cell phone into a hotspot. But one of the clever things happening in Dayton, Ohio, and I know other schools are doing this, Mike said you're thinking about it too, is they're turning school buses into Wi-Fi access points. And there's a big news story about that, that they're putting high-end access points in school buses with generators and parking them in the neighborhoods. So that is a challenge with accessing online content, is the students who do not have access to it. And I recently had one who has wireless internet of some sort that got struck by lightning, and now he can't access his class. So, yeah, what do you tell them? And I said, and I want to suggest he use his phone if he can, but I don't know if that's going to work. So, yeah, we had the same thing happen. We learned some lessons when the tornadoes went through here a year ago about internet being down, and that was helpful. So, yeah.
To transition to this. So one of the things that I'm hearing here in Utah, which is where TestOut is based, we have a handful of high schools that are expanding their Wi-Fi access into their parking lots. So the students can go, it's not perfect solution, but they can go sit in their cars and get online to be able to complete their homework. That's another solution that I had. What other struggles are we seeing while teaching these classes online? Brad, what are you seeing as struggles go?
To go on the solutions, I wanted to mention one of the things our district is doing, teamed up with T-Mobile, and T-Mobile came in and gave a whole bunch of mobile hotspots. They gave us like 200 of them. And students were able to come in, pick them up with a laptop, particularly our seniors. We were really doing that for, to make sure they get all their graduation requirements taken care of. And they would take those home and access that way. As far as struggles go for me, I'm kind of a rah-rah guy. I talk a lot about my experiences, why we get certs, to try to motivate kids. You know, I don't consider myself the, quintessential IT guy. I've been an educator all my life, but I've been a technology director. So that's my industry experience that I bring to this. But so, telling those kids those stories, getting them motivated, being face to face with them, talking about why it's important to get the certifications, transferring that into emails now. Now it's a lot of emails. I'm gonna have carpal tunnel, by the way. And trying to keep our kids motivated. I mean, that's the key. Why do this? Unfortunately, one of the things, I don't know if this is happening all over, but it's happening in our whole state. They have frozen a lot of the kids' grades from third quarter to fourth quarter. So the word has gotten out is that their grades can't go down. They can only go up. Now that's been thrown on top of me. How do I motivate them now, though, that they don't have to do anything? So I'm really pushing, look, you test out. This is a chance to get your certification and to put hours of time in that you normally would be splitting or wouldn't be able to do. So, the motivation, I think, is the biggest factor. I think one of the things I'm going to start doing is putting some videos together and getting them out there for kids. And Google Classroom. I don't know how many of you have talked about Google Classroom. Google Classroom, I always use it in my classes. I think it's great for just putting weekly PowerPoints up there, and I use it as a pacing guide. Hey, here are the assignments you guys should be working on. Here's a link that, you might hit this lab and you might run into this problem. Well, here's a couple links that'll let you go out there and teach kids how to research and survey and find everything. Those are our go-getters, right, Kara? You talked about that. And I think that's what TestOut's great for. But sometimes we have to show those kids, hey, there are other solutions. Let's keep looking for it, keep finding them. So
Absolutely.
those are the challenges I'm running into.
Awesome. Okay, so I have another poll question. Let's ask the audience and see kind of what their challenges are, and maybe we can brainstorm a little bit based on the answers. So Brooke, would you mind posting the question, what has been your biggest struggle? I thought of the top 5 or 6 that I have been thinking of, or that I've been hearing of. There may be others out there, so I apologize if these don't apply to you, but out of those, kind of what are your struggles there? As I expected. So far, I'm seeing the biggest one is keeping students motivated. So we'll talk about that in a second. Let's give a couple more seconds for people to respond to that. And then we can go ahead and have that conversation. So far, 58% of you are saying keeping the students motivated is the biggest struggle. Okay, so for those of you who've been teaching online classes, Kara and Ed, for a very, very long time, go ahead, Brooke, and you can go ahead and show those results as well for us, so that everyone can kind of see what that is. See, the mass majority are saying keeping students motivated is the big concern right now. So Ed and Kara, what do you do? And we'll come to Brad and Mike as well, but what do you guys do to help keep your kids motivated?
You want to go first, Kara? Okay, I'll go first. Well, what I do, actually every week I do send an email out. So it's kind of an email, kind of like a check. I call it the Moore Park College space, the name of the course, space, course update. That's my weekly email. And in the email, I share where everybody should be at, and then I provide an update on you know what on the course, what's going on with the campus, and in particular the actual course. I also append at the very end of my email my syllabus. I'll take a copy of where they should be on the syllabus schedule. So my syllabus has a schedule. So I append at the end of my email the syllabus schedule based on the date of where they should be, so they can always see at the end of my email what the schedule is, what the future looks like. That's my first step. So that's on a weekly basis. The second thing I do is I go into TestOut and I see and I use my Canvas tool and I try to identify my at-risk students who haven't logged in over a week. And I'll send them an individual email saying, hey, what's going on? This is where you should be. This is where you're at right now. What do I need to do to help get you back on track? Are there issues going on? And in the community college, I think it is a little bit different in the community college where students choose to be there. That's something that they're actually interested in the career field. But however, I do find that through an 18-week semester, students do go through a lot of challenges. They're adjusting to other courses. They may have a math exam. For example, that's one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of our students have, is they have a lot of math homework in a particular week. So they'll fall behind in my course. So getting that update from me, I think helps remind them, hey, you know what? I know you got to do your math, but guess what? You also got to do my schoolwork. So that friendly reminder helps keep them engaged. So it's important that me as a teacher, every week, I have some kind of, I reach out to my students at least on a weekly basis to remind them that they need to log in and do schoolwork so that they don't fall too far behind. I think that online is a learning adjustment. And I always remind students, you know what? Time management skills is something that every employer needs. You need to have that. When you go to a job interview, you need to be able to share your time management skills. Hey, you know what? You can share about how you were successful in an online course. You had to do your own schedule. You had to figure out when you could study, and you accomplished the course successfully. Even that, it demonstrates to an employer that you have time management skills. So I put that spin on it in my course orientation to try to convince them that going through an experience of an online course can be a healthy experience, and they should embrace it.
Right, absolutely. One of the comments that just came in under our questions is explaining the why. Why are we doing this? Why are we learning this? How is this going to impact your life? And I think that's exactly what you just said, Ed, is that big why. And I think that can be a motivating factor. Hey, when you get this certification, when you take this class and get this certification, you can earn X number of dollars, right? That's,
right.
an added bonus.
Well, yeah. Well, good. Can you imagine going to a job interview and telling your employer, no, I have really bad time management skills. I just couldn't do my online course. I said that.
Exactly.
Well, thank you for coming in today.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah. See you later. Yeah. Kara, what do you think? What is it that helps you motivate your students?
I would say some of the same things Ed said for sure. Setting clear expectations at the beginning. I spell out what's expected of them, and I do it in several different ways. So I don't just throw the syllabus and say, just read the syllabus, because we all know sometimes they don't do that. So I do several formats of letting them know what those expectations are and why. Sometimes I'll write it out. So some of the more important things, maybe I'll do a video or some other way of expressing that. Regular communication, I think once a week is often enough. More than that, they just start ignoring you. So when you're in the classroom, you can do obviously more than that. But online, I think once a week, a check-in. And all it really needs to be is, this is where we are, this is where you should be, this is what you should be doing. If you're having trouble, please let me know. Also empower them. Say, if you're not at that point, it's okay. You just need to work a little bit and get back there. You can still do this.
Right.
There's still enough time to do this.
I love that.
And I think that's very important, because sometimes students will fall a week or two behind and they'll be like, well, I'm screwed, and drop the class. Now you need to empower them and say, look, we still have 8 weeks. If you just work a little bit harder each week, you can catch up. You're fine. And I can help you do that. So the big thing is I hate to say you have to pester them, but you do have to pester them a little bit, so, just to make sure that they don't forget you're there, but don't do it so much that they start to resent you. I've seen teachers do it too much. So, and don't take a ton of their time. Make it quick, dirty, tell them what they need to do, where they're at, what they need to do, and let them figure it out. And give them the tools that they need, and then say, I'm here at this time and this time and this time to support you if you need that support.
Right.
So,
do you guys have one of the questions that came in is, do you guys have like specific class times, or like you were just mentioning, Kara, like you have open office hours. I'm available from here to here where you can talk to me. But do you like have that as a classroom, or is that just like?
Well, in the old days, before all this happened, I had office hours, right? On campus, and students could come in. Now I do Zoom meetings, and I just get on Zoom, and I sit there and I wait for people to log in. So, and I do that for a couple hours, a couple times a week. So I think that's important for the students to know that you're there. And it may seem pointless, but you got to give them that opportunity.
Right, maybe your online office hours instead of campus hours. Brad, what do you do to motivate your students?
Boy, you guys really hit a lot of it on the head there. Ed, I'm with you. I talk a lot about the skills they need, not just the IT skills, but the soft skills. Writing good emails, communicating, the expectation of communication, and putting it again to the real world. I do that constantly with my kids. Kara, I really liked what you said with regards of, pester them, but know how much you pester them. I think as a classroom teacher, we have one advantage over the online teachers we have is we really get to know our kids. And now that I have to reach out to them remotely, I kind of know which one's okay. I got to just poke this one a little bit. Okay, this guy I got a club over the head. There's nothing like a personal communication from a teacher to a student. Showing that you care, that yes, all this stuff has happened. Boy, our grades are frozen. Oh, Chamberlain, why should I do this? No, just show them you care, guys. Over the years, I've gotten a lot of our English teachers will have our students write about teachers that affected them. And I have gotten some letters from those teachers, from those students, that things that I didn't even realize I did until I read that letter, and what a profound impact you have on that kid. So just letting them know we're still out there. I do the office hours. I'm 9 to 11, or 9 to noon each day. So I just let the kids know that if they need anything then, and then also answer within 24 hours, be prompt. You know, we all have to continue to be creative and work through this. Great experience with Ed and Karen. You guys just said some things that, you know, for new teachers, you don't do that stuff. You guys just do it instinctively. You've done this for so long, you've learned it, and you know, those new teachers out there are the ones that really need help with it. So also work with your other teachers. I do that a lot. When new teachers in the state come in line, a lot of the state people will send them to me. Hey, what have you done? How do you set this up? And I think, you know, through our teachings, we can work with our staff and help them. And then teachers come to me as well and say, hey, what do we do to keep motivated, so on and so forth. So keep being creative and keep working hard at working for them. As long as the kids know we're there, that's the key.
Perfect. Mike, what about you? How are you motivating your students?
I'm gonna add on to Brad's comments. So we email the kids every week, letting them know what's going on. And I'm gonna be that teacher. When I send an email to a student, I add their parent email to it as well, because a lot of times the parents do not know the technology either. And if they're attached to it with instructions of how to do it, a lot of time that helps motivate the student when the parent is saying, "This is how you do it."
Yeah.
That helps out a great deal. Now, me, because I said this is my first year for being a technology instructor, I'm going through the class. So a lot of like, Mr. Smith, this is horrible. Yeah, it is tough, but here's how to go around it. So there's more of a camaraderie with the students, because, like I said, I'm going through the weekly stuff that I have assigned to them every week as well, and they're understanding, and I'm seeing the issues they're having because I'm looking at it too. So communicating every week with them, open talks, and everything else, that's what works.
Perfect. We've got one attendee who said that they use Kahoots. You guys familiar with Kahoots? You know, engaging your students to have, you know, fun little games and things like that is another way. There's a lot of online tools and resources that are out there that can help engage them in different ways outside of maybe the normal curriculum. Obviously, we're talking, you know, TestOut here, but any other class that you're teaching can kind of pull those together. Any other suggestions or any other ideas on motivating students? I think that we hit a lot of things on the head there before we move on to the next question here. Okay.
Well, the other thing that I could add is that this semester, before this whole virus broke out, I did have a club on campus, and I realized that a lot of the students were very engaged, more than normal, because they were all part of a club, and they were all meeting and having various discussions about school and stuff. And it seemed that group was really super motivated. So I'm trying to figure out, I'm thinking that I need to pair them up on an online format, even, so they can help each other. So that's something I'm explore going forward to see if that's the motivation and the engagement level. So I maybe that, you know, as teachers, you know, Mike, this is your first year, you mentioned, and I think that the key here is that every year you want to take, at the end of the semester, you take a look back and you ask yourself, okay, what did I do right that worked out great, and what were the areas that I need to work on, and what can I do to be more effective? And I think that's the key. And so it's a constant, it is a journey in teaching, because as you discover, the environment changes, the challenges change. And that's what all of us right now with the whole virus, our environment has completely changed. So now we need to readjust, as well as our students. So we got to figure out, okay, you know, how can I use TestOut now even more effectively? So that's where I'm at right now, is how do I get that group engagement somehow online to keep that momentum and that interest level as high as it was in my classroom. That's that challenge that I got to figure out.
Yeah, pulling together a lot of those things, because, you know, especially everyone's life is changing right now. It's a little bit different than it was 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. these students, that maybe Kara and Ed have in your classes, we're expecting online all semester long, and then there's a lot of other students who just kind of got thrown into it, whether they like it or not. And so I think that makes a difference for these students as well. So that's great. Okay, so let's talk TestOut for just a second, just because we're talking labs, especially, and we can talk a little bit different between our office curriculum, Mike, we can get that conversation, and then our IT courses. Tell me about the labs. How are you making the adjustments? I know, Brad, that you've got computers all in your classroom that these kids can take apart and pull back together. How is that changing for your students right now? Shifting gears a little bit, like instead of having the hands-on, now they have to do it all of it in LabSim.
Yeah. Fortunately, in NetAcad, I do hands-on stuff with my computers, mobile devices, we do all that, but NetAcad also allows us to do things through Packet Tracer and some of those labs there. So some of the kids had that. My main kids that use TestOut are my kids are in a class called it's Computer Maintenance 2 and 3, and it's actually a business. It's 24pin tech. We even have a website if you guys want to check it out. It's 24pin.tech, and we fix all the teachers' computers, students' phones. They actually bring them by and drop them off, and all kids do all of that work, and we do it all for free. It works great, but my kids miss it dearly right now. They're unable to do any of that stuff with the kids. So one of the things that I've done with TestOut is it's almost a challenge. I had a kid last year, I think Braden Sanders, you're familiar with him. A lot of you should know who he is because when you logged into TestOut, it was his
he was on the login screen
for about 4 months. Well, he ended up getting, I think, 8 certs. So I always talk about him and put the bar up there and say, who's the next Braden? Who's going to get these certs? And these kids, they challenge each other. They start to challenge each other and really work through it. So the TestOut labs, the thing that's great about them, they're so intuitive. They're so easy to get into and to follow the instructions and to work through it in that real work environment, go from one room to the next. And I always talk about that with the kids. So most of my kids, especially my 24pin tech kids, they've been in those labs for over a year and a half, 2 years now. And like I said, they're so intuitive. You just figure them out like that. So it hasn't been that huge of a challenge switching from the real equipment to TestOut. My first year students, they're the ones who are the struggle. I have an ITE class, which is my first introductory, and typically they don't do TestOut. Well, I've assigned them all to TestOut now, so I've been having to email them quite a bit and work them through these labs and some of the quirks they find when they first get in there. Just continuing to work on it and figuring out solutions.
Yeah. Ed, what do you think the difference is between the labs that we can provide in the LabSim curriculum versus in classroom?
Well, I think that in the classroom, those are great labs, but the reality is right now I'm actually transitioning to cloud training, and guess what? The cloud training is all going to be taking place sitting at a computer and the equipment remote somewhere else. So the labs sim in TestOut, it really is providing an environment where it's a simulator, but you've got to be comfortable using simulation-like technology. So it's definitely a component that's essential in today's IT environment. So you're doing hands-on a computer locally, a lot of times you'll be doing remote work remotely. So I think that the simulation is a huge plus. So I'm definitely in favor of it.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, I've got a couple of questions from the queue. If you guys have additional questions you want to ask, we will do our best. We're running a little bit short on time. We're just so excited to talk about all these things. So I wanted to ask a couple of these questions that are coming in, just so that we all know there's a lot of good feedback that's coming in through these questions. I am going to suggest to my team that anybody's in attendance to here, we'll go ahead and compile some of these things and send them out to you as best practices that we're receiving from you. So if you want to add some of those to the question bank as well, please feel free to do that. One of the questions that came in was, what are some of the ideas for online collaboration tools for students? So having your students work together. I know Ed, I just pulled out my hearings. I think Ed, it was you that was talking about your group club that you were working with. What do you guys do to help your students collaborate a little bit? Or is that even something you do?
I can quickly just mention that we do have a discussion component in my Canvas shell. So that's really where I think more of the collaboration will be taking place. So I do post some discussion questions, but I need to increase the amount of the discussion and the topics. But that's one way that I could do that using my LMS system.
Perfect.
I have a good thought on that one.
Yes, please.
So besides doing all this other teaching stuff that I do, I'm also a advisor for a student club on campus, and it's a very active club. We normally have meetings every Wednesday afternoon. We're now doing those collaborating with Zoom. So something like that, where video chat, audio chat, whatever. Some students are doing Discord, other things like that, and then combining that with collaboration software to share files and share ideas like Google Drive, OneDrive, or through the LMS. We have stuff in our LMS for that too. But the students seem to be more, they like things like Google a little bit better. So whatever they want to use, as long as they're working together. So we have students that are working on a project with the student club right now. How can the club help people in our community in this situation? So they're brainstorming and coming up with ideas and creating documents and ideas using Zoom meetings that I planned for them. I don't even have to be there. And then they are using Google Drive to put that all together. So it really doesn't matter which tool it is that you use, as long as you're giving them that opportunity to meet. So I think you could still do student projects and stuff. It would take some creativity, but I think it would still work as long as your material was strong and explained everything. You could still have students do stuff. I'm working on how am I going to do a forensics project for students in the fall, and I think I'm going to have them download a virtual machine.
Oh, good.
And then they'll collaborate and break into it and tell me what's going on in there. So that's going to be on top of the test out stuff. So I think that's part of it too, is adding to make the class your own.
Perfect. Any other feedback on collaboration, Mike or Brad?
Yeah, one thing I noticed, I'll be real quick this time, I promise. Listen to the kids. The kids will pull up all kinds of new ways to collaborate. I mean, each time they come into class, hey, have you looked at this, Chamberlain, or you looked at that? I mean, everything you guys mentioned here is great as well, but listen to the kids. They will come up with some new things you've never even heard of. So definitely ask your students on how they're collaborating, because they do it anyway. That's where else think about it.
Absolutely.
I grew up with it.
All right, Mike, do you have anything else that you'd like to add there?
We, for our staff, we do everything through Google Classroom. You can do Google Meet through Classroom. You can open it up. You can set up your times, whatever else for the students. They just have a random question. They can post it to the class, including me, and answer it whenever we can, and everything else. So
good idea.
K through 12 that are doing Google Classroom, it's available in there. Just dig a little deeper into it.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to ask one more question, but I'm going to show my screen here really quickly. Maybe. Here we go. Okay, so I want to ask, I want you guys to think about this. One more question. If you were going to give a person one piece of advice while teaching or moving to online, what would it be? So think about it for just a second. I'm going to comment on this page that I didn't just share. Hold on. Share the wrong screen. Let's try it again. Here we go. Let's try now. Okay. Can we see the contact us page? Not sure if we can. Okay. So this screen here shows information for anybody looking for more information about our curriculum, things like that. For higher ed instructors, here's a link to get more information. For our K-12 instructors, here's a link to get more information. We are running some specials right now where we can get you access to our curriculum so that you can try it out either on your own or with your students. So just kind of write those down. We will also include this in the emails that we send to you with the recordings and things. Okay, so let's start with Mike. What's one last piece of advice that you might give to someone starting or using online curriculum?
Just to calm down and go through the material. TestOut is there so you can go back through over and over again with the labs and the lectures and the printouts. Just take your time and learn. As long as you get something out of it, we teachers will deal with on the other end of getting it done in time.
Perfect. Thank you. Kara.
I would say don't be afraid to make it your own. Look at what's there, use it, and then if you feel that there needs to be this one little thing, or you want to add little videos, or you want to add this or add that, or this part, let's just take this part out. Don't be afraid to make it your own. That tells the students that you care enough to actually consider those things.
Perfect. Brad, one last piece of advice.
Reach out. You're not alone. There are teachers. I have the partnerships I've made over the years. I mean, you know, I didn't realize how little I knew until I started teaching. Once I really started teaching, I realized, wow, I can't do this alone. So reach out, partner with community colleges, partner with teachers who have been doing this for a long time. Ask those questions because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's been done. You just got to find, you know, what's working for people. And again, like Kara said, make it your own once you do reach out and figure it out.
Perfect, perfect. And Ed.
I would say have a weekly plan. So my plan includes having students submit their assignments. So they submit an evidence file that basically shows what they've completed on TestOut. And what it does, it allows me to quickly identify those students who haven't done the work, so I can reach out to them right then and there and say, okay, what's going on? What can I do to help? What can I help to get you back on track? Because I think that's the key. You want to end the semester knowing that your students were successful through an online format.
I love that. I love that. Thank you again for joining us. I hope that you all found something beneficial. There is going to be a couple question survey when we're done here, so please go ahead and hang out for a minute for that survey. Take that. If you loved this type of webinar, please let us know as well so that we can continue to do these types of things to help out you as the teachers. You guys right now are the heroes, the behind the scenes kind of people, and we appreciate everything that you're doing and hope that this helped in just a little way to know that you're not alone and that there are other people going through this, and we can absolutely get through all of this together. So thank you so much, and have an excellent day.